Hello, fourth grade. Welcome to your one-stop shop for a math review. I haven't posted a math lesson in a couple of days, so I thought let's do one now. Let's review some of the things we've been talking about with fractions and decimals. I'm going to be seated because it's way more comfortable than standing in front of this computer, and I'm going to be using whiteboards to talk to you guys about the things that we've done so far with our online learning. So first things first, let's talk about how to say and write a couple different things, talking about place values. So here's what I have for you right now. 1/10 is the same as, well, 1 over 10, 1 out of 10, there's 1/10, or 0.1. Remember, this is the tenths place. We say it 1/10. You can say it 1/10 here. Next is 100th. That's the next place value over. You can show it as 1 out of 100 or 0.01. You can also say that as 100th. Okay. Finally, down below here, you can see our place value. This is our ones place. Everything here is 1 or more, right? Then when we get that decimal point, we go into the fractions and decimals, the parts of numbers. This place value is the tenths, just like we saw here. This place value is hundredths, just like we saw here. Really quickly, I'm going to write underneath to remind you of what the numbers look like in fraction form. And again, this is a review. So if you're saying, yeah, Mrs. Kuhn, I know, just listen along and I'm going to help kind of your brain refresh a little bit. Okay. Look here in pink, ones place. The tenths is just like 1/10, hundredths here. Okay. A review. Got it? Good. Next up, my friends, I want to talk a little bit about turning fractions and mixed numbers, okay, into decimals, especially when they're over 1. So talking about place value really quick again, sometimes you may get a number that has decimal or fractions as well as a whole number. So we're going to talk about really quick how to go back and forth between them. Okay, so I have some, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 mixed numbers that we're going to be practicing with. Remember, a mixed number has a whole number and a fraction in it. So some examples. Tell me one example right now, out loud to the computer here. Tell me one. Okay, 1 1/2 is an example. 3 3/4. 4 5/7. Another mixed number would be like 1 1/10. 1 200ths. Anything like that is a mixed number and has a whole number and a fraction. Okay, so we can turn those into decimals. Let me show you the examples that I have. And if you are taking notes or you want to pause really quick, grab a piece of paper and you can write these down as we go here, okay? So, go get your paper and a pencil. Here we go. These are what, 5 different examples. I have 1 4/10 is the same as some number. 1 400ths, there's a difference there, okay? 1 40 hundredths, 1 1/10, and 1 10 hundredths. Okay, so I'm going to put this down for a second to show you what we're looking for here. Okay, so remember the first one is 1 4/10. Let me give you a hint. To rewrite this as a decimal, you're going to have a whole number here, your decimal point. Okay. And actually, you're only going to go up to the tenths place. Pause for a second and write down what you think this number is as a decimal. Okay? If you wrote 1.4, give yourself a pat on the back because that's correct. Remember, this is the tenths place, and I can identify which place value I'm going to using that denominator there in the mixed number. 1.4 or 1 4/10. Okay? I'm going to change colors here just because that's fun. Our next one is 1 400ths. Now, using that denominator is hundredths, so I know that I'm actually going to need 2 spaces after my decimal point to go to the hundredth place. Okay, pause for a second, write down what this number is as a decimal. Okay, and if you wrote 1.04, give yourself a pat on the back because you're correct. Okay, if you're looking at this now, let's talk about the differences here between the first one we did in the tenths place and the second one in the hundredths place. Notice that I only went 1 place value on my decimal point here because it's tenths. Okay, here I had to put in a 0 because there's nothing in the tenths place there, friends. It's just 4 hundredths. There's just 4 of them. If I were to draw one of those grids, right, where it has 100 little dots in there, I'm going to draw it kind of small here, right, like this, but there's 100 squares in that grid. Only 4 of them would be filled in. 1, 2, 3, 4, just 4 of them, right? Okay. Now, this is going to look a little different, okay? The next one we have is 1 and 40 hundredths, okay? Once again, I'm looking at the place value of the denominator, and I notice that it's hundredths. So I know that I'm going to have 2 spaces, after my decimal point. Write what that looks like as a decimal. Pause. All right, I'm going to change colors again. If you wrote 1 in the ones place, okay, and then 40, okay, that is the same as 1 and 40 hundredths. Okay, now stop for a second. Look here. 1 and 40 hundredths, 1 and 4 tenths. What do you notice about these 2 numbers? If you think that they are the same, you're absolutely correct. Remember, you guys, we can multiply by 10 here to get the same number. All we did here is just add a little 0, right? Because there's always that invisible 0 saying 1 and 4 tenths is the same as 1 and 40 hundredths. If we drew that on a grid, remember, we would have 40 of the little tiny squares filled in, which would be 4 of the long tenths filled in as well. They're the exact same number, just in a little bit different form, okay? These next 2, you will say, are very similar, 1 and 1/10, 1 and 10 hundredths. I want you to write these both down as decimals, okay? Pause for a second. I'm going to write them down too. 1 and 1/10 can be written as 1.1, 1 and 1/10, okay? 1 and 10 hundredths can be written as 1.10. 1 and 10 hundredths. And again, these 2 numbers are the same, okay? All I did was add a 0 on here. Whoops, it's the same value. That's ugly looking. It's the same value, my friends. 1 and 1/10 is the same as 1 and 10 hundredths, okay? All right. Next piece that we are going to review is finding decimals on a number line, because that looked like the thing on Khan that was maybe most confusing for us, okay? So I have created 2 number lines here. I'm going to show you them in just a moment, okay? You don't need to take notes on this unless you want to. You could just watch me, by the way. Okay. The number line on top goes from 0 to 1, okay? What I'm going to do is separate it into tenths, which means there will be 10 spaces, right? Give me a moment here. So I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. See, I have it separated into 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. In this case, we're talking about tenths. Tenths, 1/10. So if I were to label all of these, okay, the first tick mark after my 0 is going to be 0.1. The next is 0.2, 1/10, 2/10, then 0.3 or 3/10, 0.4 or 4/10. Halfway there's 0.5 or 5/10. Then we get 0.6, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and then you'll see that 1 is the same as 1 in 0/10. So I just kind of went up and down there just to keep room going. So if I said on this number line you need to find 7/10, all you would do is count 7 tick marks over from the 0 and look. There we are, 7/10, which again is the same as writing 7 over 10. Okay. Now, down below here is like zooming in on this number line, on just this piece. Like zooming in on the piece between 0 and 1/10. So I just colored in green there what we're zooming in on. You can see right here, this number line now is showing the space between 0 and 1/10. Here it is. Okay. Now, if I cut this into 10 pieces, that means that I've done 1/10 of 1/10. Think to yourself what that might be. If you said 100th, you're absolutely correct. So cut it. I'm going to cut it into 10 more pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. On this number line now, I have hundredths. If this is 0.1, okay, and here's 0, and I'm in the hundredths place, I know that I'm going to have 2 place values. So to help me think about that, I'm going to change this to 0.10 or 10 hundredths. Remember from before, 1/10 is the same as 10 hundredths. So we can just rename this here to help it make more sense. So then that tells me, okay, when I go here, this is going to be 0.01 or 100th. Hold on, I'm going to turn it around so that I can see it a little better. And we're going to get 2 hundredths, 3 hundredths, 4 hundredths, you guessed it, 5 hundredths, 6 hundredths, 7 hundredths, 8 hundredths, 9 hundredths, and then 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10. Remember, because we're going from 0 to 1/10, zooming in there. Okay, let's look here now. Here's my 100th, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 1/10. Okay, zooming in here, I know that there are even hundredths in there. So if I said, can you please find 9 hundredths on both of these number lines? Well, you would obviously on the hundredths one go, oh, it's just right here. Duh. But if I was telling you, find 9 hundredths on this number line, think about that. Well, this is where I'm zooming in, this is pretty darn close to that 1/10 here. I could say, oh, it's about right there. That's an estimation. Okay, this is doing it on a number line. This is a review of the past, let's see, 5 days that we've done so far. I just hit a couple highlights. This is helpful to go back to if you did not get 75% on your Khan assignments. I've put on Coon Chronicles that if you have not gotten at least a 75% on your Khan assignments, you need to go back and do them again until you've gotten at least 75. Okay, there's a few of you that need to go back and do them to make sure that you're understanding. That's how I can see that you're understanding. I will be back with another video to talk about today, Tuesday's lesson, but I wanted to do a quick review in case you needed some clarification. Okay, all right, we'll see you soon. Bye, 4th grade.